Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 21 career mode, and today we are here for the 12th and 13th rounds of the season at Austria and Silverstone. So it has been a pretty big break since the last episode, so I think I should probably refresh you on what happened at Assen and at the Kimi Ring. Of course, at Assen, we had an absolutely dominant victory in the wet. The AI could not touch us whatsoever, so we managed to do a lot of damage to Sam Lowe's championship lead. However, unfortunately, it was almost the opposite. In the Kimi Ring, the AI had a lot of pace over me. However, it was actually quite nullified by the fact there was a pile-up, which, ironically enough, was caused by Sam Lowe's making a mistake and crashing. Took out a good majority of the field, including myself. I thought I was going to get through it, but unfortunately I was clipped from behind by another rider, and down I went. But that does mean that Sam only finished 6th place. I finished outside the points because of it, whereas I would have gotten the points without that issue. But I think that probably still means that he gained less points on me than he should have done, so it actually wasn't too bad. It could have been a much worse weekend. But I'm hoping that we should be able to pick up the pace a little bit here, because Red Bull Ring, I won there in Moto 3 fairly easily. Not too sure about Silverstone, since of course we didn't have the pace there in the wet in Moto 3. There seemed to be some weird issue with the grip, but hopefully that doesn't happen this season. But of course, first of all, we need to advance to that point of the season. So we're in the summer break right now, so we've got quite a few weeks to advance through to get up to Austria. So on week 29 here then, we have got a notification on the technical staff, a new candidate for the chief engineer. So Samuel Teixeira, I'm not 100% sure how that would be pronounced, but they're a little bit worse on the engine, a little bit better on the electronics. I'm just going to reject them, not worth hiring that person there. So we'll advance forward one more week, which should take us up to the Austrian GP. Nothing to do on the headquarters, because you can see there is still 1 week left on the frame upgrade, 5 on the engine and 11 on the electronics. So without any further ado, we'll head into the Austrian GP and I'll see you at the end of practice. So we're getting towards the end of free practice now then, and it's not been a terrible session, honestly. It's not been great, especially on terms of on the development front, but fortunately we already have so much research data, I think we should be okay. But the lap times aren't too bad. You can see on the right hand side I've done lots of laps, and I found a second basically out of nowhere on the medium tyres, like right at the end of the stint. And then I came out on a set of soft tyres because I don't want to waste any more mediums, and I could do the same sort of lap times. So hopefully that should be a consistent step. I think I just managed to get the braking down, which, to be honest, if you can get the braking down at this circuit, you've basically got a good time, because it's all about hard braking. If you can get your technique to brake a little later without a stoppie, you're sorted. And it's been a couple of days since I played the game, so I probably needed a few laps to bed in. So I'll end off the free practice session here. Hopefully we should get straight through into qualifying 2, but you know what the AI are like, they sometimes speed up by a few seconds between sessions. So then at the end of that practice session, Bezzecchi was still fastest, I was still second, Lowe's in third and Dixon in fourth. So of course Lowe's is the rider that we've got to focus on, so the fact that we're faster than him in this first session bodes pretty well. Hopefully they don't step up their pace anymore, because I don't think I could really find much more time around this circuit. In the race, I'm sure I'll probably be a bit more on the pace with them, but if they up their pace in qualifying, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. However, we should probably still be near the front, since we were quite high up in this practice session. Some of the low AI might be a little bit slower, but you can see the times are pretty close. If they all found a few tenths of a second, I definitely would be in a bit of trouble. But we'll head into qualifying now. Hopefully we are straight through into qualifying 2. We are second in this session, so we should be okay, but you know what they're like, they sometimes find a second between sessions. So yes, we did go straight through into qualifying 2, but as you can see, we did drop down a few positions. It is worth noting that FP2 and 3 were actually fully sunny, they weren't cloudy at all, so maybe a few temps would be expected to be found, but it doesn't seem like we got bumped down too many positions, so I'm not too worried about it. It seems like Raul Fernandez is carrying that good form note from the previous episode, so I'm not sure what tyres to go with exactly. I think I'll go with medium, just because that's a safe bet. I know those tyres are really consistent. I use them quite a lot in this game. Like, medium tyre is basically my go-to in this one, which is quite weird. I used to go soft hard in the race, medium hard sometimes, but usually it is medium in this game most of the time. So it's quite interesting to see how they change the dynamics of the tyres quite a lot. But enough about that anyway. We need to try and get a good lap in right at the start of the session, just so we've got a safety one in, and then maybe we could try and push a little bit at the end and go a little bit further. You can see Sam Lowe's then currently faster with a 31.4, so they've gone a little bit quicker, although that's probably to be expected, considering now it is the sunny conditions rather than the cloudy. We should actually have a little bit more pace because of that, because the tyres should have a little bit more heat in them. Although, honestly, a lot of the time, that's not such a good thing for me. Sort of towards the line, then currently in 8th position. I guess that's where we ended up in the combined times. So down towards the first corner. I want to break around here, around about the 100-metre board. Actually, I think I might be 150 into the first corner. Get on the power as early as you can. A little bit of a squirm, so that probably will have cost me a bit of momentum up this straight. Who's asked one of my teammates, I'm not sure whether it's Gardner or Fernandez, but I think it might be Remy Gardner. If we get on the brakes nice and hard, 3 tenths down, yes it is Remy Gardner, but the bike was all over the place in that braking zone. It's probably the hardest braking zone on the track. Actually no, turn 4 is the hardest, turn 3 is the second hardest, just because the bike goes all out of shape when you slam on the anchors there, and if you run wide, you're in a little bit of trouble. It's not too bad through turn 3, because of course you can run onto the tarmac runoff, but if you run wide into turn 4, you're in the gravel, and you're probably off the bike. So it's not been an ideal start to lap, so probably braked a little bit too early there. What's the time looking like? 4 tenths, nearly, basically half a second away from Sam Lowe's, so we'll definitely need to go for another lap, I think, after this one. But this section, I should get a bit of time back on them, I think. It's a bit more of a player section, sort of entering a corner fast and just trying to slow it down and get back on the power through it. So let's see what the intermediate is at the end of this sector, what the gap is like. Yeah, 3 tenths of a second, so we took a couple temps out there. Into the last couple of corners, I went a little bit too hot through the penultimate, which definitely will have affected my run all the way to the line now. So I expect that we probably will be about half a second off pole. So out the last corner then, up towards the line. What's this time going to be? It's going to be a 31.9, I think. No, actually, only 3 tenths off still, so we didn't actually lose any time in that final sector. So if we do the first and second sectors a little bit better, we could actually be on for a decent position here. Sort towards the line. What's this time going to be? I think this should take us near the top. 7 tenths off, so actually, no, they've improved by quite a lot. 30.7 now is the pole position. I was just thinking it was still the same time. I saw that I was a few tenths underneath, like basically the amount I was off pole. But unfortunately, that's still not enough. So 9th place currently, we're going to have to keep going. Although I've actually only got half a lap of fuel, so I'll have to head back into the pits, refuel, and come back out again. Sort towards the line then. We've had a bit of a poor exit at the last corner. I don't want to lose any more. We're only 3 tenths off now, but that's still only 7th on the grid. So the times are super, super close here. And I might be able to just get in the pits and back out again for one more run. And I'll probably have to use a hard tyre because you can see I've not got enough fuel left to keep going on this lap, even though the first corner was a little bit better. So we're just going to get this one last go at it with 18 seconds on the clock. 15 as we go over the line. This is going to be my last lap. It better be something special. Oh, I've dipped on the green anyway, so that's going to... Oh, okay, apparently that was allowed, but yeah, the lap was too slow. Just not enough. So a disappointing qualifying session. Honestly, it's so, so close. I'm 10th place. I'm only 3 tenths off. Half a second quicker than I've gone all weekend. So the pace is definitely there, because we're not too far off in qualifying trim. But fortunately for me, Sam Lowe's is only 5th. So you can see how close they are. 1/10 would have put you 5th place on the grid. That would be frustrating. I mean, even if I'd found a 10th, I would have only gone up a couple of places. So very, very close. It's just... Whew. I guess that's what you get with such a short track. You just get such a close grid, but wow, this is really close. But Fabio Di Gianantonio ends up on pole position, and a bit of a resurgence from him then, because he hasn't really particularly done anything since he was leading the championship very, very early on, back in Termas Hondo when he won that race. He hasn't really done much since then. I think he maybe had a notable performance at maybe Portimao, but that's all I can think of. He hasn't really been there since the very start of the season. Jake Dixon has somehow got himself second place on the grid, so another non-championship competitor there. 3rd place for Schrotter, 4th for Gardner, who he's, I think, 3rd in the championship, but he's pretty distant 3rd, so not too worried about him. But Sam Lowe's in 5th place, and Augusto Fernandez in 6th, 7th for Vietti, 8th for Roberts, 9th for Ben Schneider, and 10th for myself. So this race is going to be all about the start, because you can't really make many passes into the first corner, so we need to try and make them on the run into the first corner if possible. If not, we're just going to have to try and slowly pick my way through. There should be a fair few laps since it's quite a short circuit, but I guess we won't know till we get into the race. So we're down here on the grid then, looking at Jake Dixon. I still can't believe he's second on the grid, but that's definitely going to help us out. Of course, having some riders that are not maybe quite on the pace in front, although if they've qualified well, that usually means in the race they'll probably go fairly well as well, because the game has decided for this weekend that rider is going fast. So it's going to be a medium-hard combination, I think. The medium front, that was pretty decent throughout practice and qualifying, but in qualifying the medium was getting a little bit overheated, which it wasn't in practice due to the cloudiness. So I think The right choice is definitely going to be the hard tyre, but it is going to be all about the start. It's not going to be about tyre wear right from the off, so I might need to push that rear a little bit and then maybe save it towards the end, because otherwise I think the fast guys at the front will probably get away if it takes me too long to get through. But of course, only 5 places to Sam Lowe's, and of course he's got riders in front of him, so hopefully he gets held up a little bit, but we just need to make a good start here.
Riders have just completed their sighting lap and are lined up on the Red Bull Ring straight. Very little time left now until the start of another Austrian Grand Prix.
So there could actually be some quite big crashes in this race, purely because the AI have been going down a lot at the penultimate turn. But waiting for the lights to go here, then at the Red Bull Ring, lights out, and away we go. That was actually a pretty good reaction to the lights. We actually jumped past Ben Schneider initially there. We've dropped a little bit further behind as we go down towards the first corner, hitting the brakes then. Can we try and get it turned in? We've got Manzi at the inside. Oh, Manzi's down. Manzi's hit Bezecchi. We've got off the circuit as well, trying to avoid that. We've got a bit of a gap behind us now there with Ralph Fernandez. It seems like there's some glitch going on with the LODs, because the low LODs are being shown on all the bikes here. You can see some of the liveries actually look a bit wrong because of that. I'm not too sure what's causing that. I'll have to have a look. But as we go around the outside into turn 3, then probably not the best move, but it did allow us to close up a little bit to Bo Ben Schneider. Try and use a bit more power mode 3 again. I'm going to have to use a lot of fuel off the start and save a little bit later on. So we go to the outside past Ben Schneider, around the outside of Fernandez as well. Can we get it stopped right behind Vietti? I nearly said Bezecchi. Around the outside again on the power. Can we just keep in front of Fernandez? Yes, we can. We've got a good run compared to Joe Roberts as well. We've gone past Joe Roberts. We're going to go try around the outside of Vietti. We've lost the rear. They're going in. Down to power mode 2. I can't keep it in power mode 3 any longer, but around the outside then of Joe Roberts. Up to 7th place. Stopped in a terrible start. You can see Sam Lowe's actually only 2 places in front of us now, and if we can get past Celestino Vietti as quickly as possible, we should be able to get past. We should be able to get onto the back of Sam Lowe's. So here we go then, good run on Vietti. Vietti goes to the inside. I'm going to try and go around the outside again. We've been doing a lot of outside passes in this race so far, but it seems to be working. Around the outside of Celestino and up into 6th position then, although he's still got the inside through the last corner on the power as early as I can. Go back up into power mode 3 because we're only half a lap down now. You can see Sam Lowe's actually has a blue bike in front. He's got the old Estrella livery on, so for some reason the lower detailed textures are incorrect, and they're being loaded in for some reason even when they're not too far away. So not too sure what that's about. Can't do anything about that right now, guys. But it's been a really good start. Up to 6th place on the first lap. Sam Lowe's is right in front of us, and we're in the lead group already. That's probably just saved our weekend, honestly. So Remy Gardner looking behind him, Lowe's trying to make a pass at the same time, so a little bit weird there, not sure exactly what's going on, but we're going to brake again hard on the outside, closing right to the back of Sam. Actually a bit of contact with Sam there, luckily we didn't crash or anything like that, but we seem to be closing up to the AI a lot on the brakes, and hopefully that does bode pretty well, because we've got plenty of laps, so if we could try and pick off a couple of riders a lap, I definitely could find my way into the lead here, because you can see Di Antonio is still leading, although he is stretching away. Jake Dixon, I think, is holding up this group a little bit. But here we go, then we are closing up to the back of Sam Lowe's. They've gone in a little bit too hot there. Flicking the bike over. They're pulling away from me out of there, actually, because I probably went a bit too fast. Didn't have to slow it down in the middle. We've got half a second already to Vietti, so we're safe to Vietti behind, so we are running away with these leaders, so I can sit here a little bit and bide my time, but I want to try and get past Sam as quick as possible so I can try and attack some of the ones in front of him. So at the end of the second lap, then Di Antonio 31.3, fast up of the race. I do a 31.6, so a couple of tenths slower than Fabio Di Antonio, so Digi could check out here. Marcel Schrotter looks like he's going for a move on Jake Dixon. He's done it, he's pulled it off, he's up to second. So Dixon definitely seems to be holding up some of these guys, and I think Remy Gardner's going flying past him as well on the run up to turn 3. Right on the back of Sam Lowe's here, he seems to have dropped a little bit away from Remy Gardner in the exit of that corner. Here we go to the left-hand side, round the outside of Sam, and we're on the outside of Remy as well. Oh, it's going to be close, and round the outside of Jake. Can we do this? No way can we pass 3 through one corner onto the curb. No, not a chance. So it's just going to be Sam, but we've got past Sam. That is crucial for this race. Up the inside though of Remy Gardner. Oh, it's close, a bit of touching. We've already had contact once this season. We don't want it to happen again. So now we've got to see if we can get Jake, because that'll put us up onto the podium with Sam down in 6th place. That would be a great result. And then once we've passed Dixon, we've got to have a look, see if we can bridge that little gap to Schrotter and then close up to the back of Di Antonio. So Dixon went a little bit defensive in there. We're all over the back of them. We're sort of going around the outside of him. We've got a trail limits warning there. I'm stuck on the curb on the outside on the power as early as I can. We can't quite pass Dixon there. Up to power 3 once again. because the fuel is saving really well around the rest of the lap. In the slipstream we go of Jake Dixon to the left-hand side. Can we pull the pass off into turn 1? Yes, we can. So around the outside of Jake Dixon into the first corner, up onto the podium. So 10th to 3rd in 3 laps. What a start it has been. But Dixon's coming back here. Dixon on the right-hand side. I think I've got him though. Yeah, I've got him covered off. So now it is the hunt for Marcel Schrotter, and we should close up a lot in these braking turns, and maybe we can think about making a pass into turn 4, since we seem to be very, very late on the brakes there compared to the AI. It does seem all of a sudden though like they've caught me a bit, because Remy Gardner on the attack on the exit of turn 3 there. So I had to think more about defending than attacking, but I think I should be okay. I think I should have the advantage over Remy there. So as we're about to start the penultimate lap of the race, Digi Antonio definitely has checked out. We've just done my new personal best lap of the race, a 31.5. Digi Antonio's fastest lap at 31.2 currently, so he's a good few steps quicker. We're definitely not catching up to him, but if we can, try and find a bit of time and catch up to Schrotter, although I've messed up turn 1's exit quite badly, and here comes Remy Gardner. Can he pass me? I'm thankful that I'm quite good at the brakes here, because this should stop him being able to get past through turn 3 on the brakes. We get back in front of Remy, although the bike's a bit out of shape because we have to move over on him a little bit. We've almost hit Schrotter at the back, and that's actually allowed Remy through. So Remy has actually gone straight back through. So we're down into 4th place again, only 1 position in front of Lowe's. But I'm going to go straight back on the attack of Remy Gardner to see if we can get this move done, because I really want to just try and close it to the back of Schrotter. We've gone in super wide, just keeping it on the track and out the gravel. Well, it was actually on the green, but just keeping it out the gravel there. Huge mistake, trying to brake super late to catch up to Schrotter, and the front brake has cried enough. You can see it's completely red. A track limit is warning there, so we must have been so close to losing the front on the grass. But I think it is going to be the battle for 3rd place now. Another track limit is warning, so we've only got 2 left. I'd say the 2 we've picked up on this lap are extremely harsh, but I'll take them. We've got to try and get past our teammate though. Here we go, we've got a really good run on him. Hopefully we could do what we did to Jake Dixon, sort of just go around the outside through this penultimate turn. Here we go, around the outside. Oh, Remy still got it. The AI defends so aggressively at this circuit, it's very difficult to make a pass up the inside, so I'm just out-braking them around the outside at every corner. But here we go then. Power mode 3, we got plus 0.2 of a lap left. I'm going to have to stay in power mode 2. There's something I can do. Vietti all of a sudden is behind me, although he's got a Luca Marini livery on by the looks of it. As we brake for the first corner, then I've got a little bit wide again. The brakes are absolutely done. The front brake is absolutely destroyed, and we're being left in the dust by Remy Gardner, so I think it is going to be 4th place at best here. We've got to watch out for Vietti rather than trying to attack Gardner, because that's where I fell foul last lap, trying to pass Schrotter instead of focusing on Gardner. So through turn 3 then, we are still in front of Vietti, so maybe we can start thinking about an attack on Remy Gardner down towards turn 4. But I've just got to remember that I can't brake as late as I have been during the race, during the practice, during the qualifying, because the front brakes are way too hot right now. And yeah, I've broke a lot later than Remy, but just not quite enough to catch him. I'm going to try and get on the power as early as I can, because maybe we can have a look at the inside into one of these double left-handers, because we are close enough, definitely, to think about making a pass. And the rear slides quite a lot here. We're all over the back of Remy Gardner. We should be able to get him through this corner on the power. The rear slide is so much that we're really on the limit of grip here. Here we go. We're looking at the inside of Remy. Bit of contact with Remy, forcing him a bit wide, but he's going to have the preferential line through this corner, so he's got it. We've got the run on him, though, to the inside. A bit more contact. We kind of buffed him out the way there, so apologies for that, but it seems like Vietti's dropped back, so we can kind of have a bit of a battle and not worry too much. So we're up into 3rd place then, down towards the final corner. I'm just going to take it nice and steady, but we've made a bit of a mistake going in. That's probably going to allow Remy through. We've got 0.4 of a lap of fuel, so we can go up to power mode 3 a bit, but it's going to be 3rd place here at the Red Bull Ring, with Sam Lowe's down in 6th, and that is a crucial result. Well, Fabio Di Giannantonio, I had absolutely no answer to him whatsoever. A fantastic race pace from him, a well-deserved victory, pole and the race win. That's definitely going to help him out in the World Championship. Marcel Schrotter, similarly, I had kind of similar pace to him. I probably could have passed him, but the front brake got too hot. The front brake got too hot, unfortunately, and that actually happens to me at Austria and Motegi quite a lot, because it's quite hard braking. I overheat the disc on the front to the point where it just doesn't want to stop anymore, so it's a little bit unfortunate, but 3rd place from 10th on the grid, I'll absolutely take that, especially since we also beat Sam Lowe's by a considerable few positions, so that is definitely going to help me out in the World Championship. So in the Championship now, I'm only 11 points behind Sam, so we must have been quite far behind already, because we must have took about 4 or 5 points out of him there from that result, so we must have been about 16, 17 points down. But 11 is still pretty close, especially since we're only halfway through the season. Still plenty more racing to go. 11 points, we can soon close up to that. Remy Gardner moves back up into third once again in the championship. I do feel sorry for him because he's definitely had the pace of myself and Lowe's throughout the season. It's just he's not had the look whatsoever. We had contact with him at Jerez, so that cost him quite a few points. Of course, he fell off on his own in Sachsenring, and I think he might have got took out in the Kimi ring as well. So he's lost a lot of points for mistakes that weren't really his own, except, of course, Sachsenring, where he crashed all on his own. But Fabio Di Giannantonio actually moves himself up into 6th in the championship once again, so only 1 point behind Bo Benschneider now. So Di Giannantonio, a top 5 is definitely possible for him. But in the Teams Championship then, it's going to be a good weekend for us because, of course, myself and Gardner both beat Lowe's and Augusto Fernandez. It is always a bit tricky when you start saying Fernandez because you've got to specify the first name since there is 2 of them. A big gap ahead of Sky VR46, which, is to be expected because really it's only ever one rider that shows up. But this time it actually was Vietti. Vietti had a very, very good result, especially compared to Bezzecchi, but Bezzecchi did get skittled out by Manzi at the first corner, I believe, so it's not really his fault he didn't do so well. But that brings this weekend to a close then, so we'll head back to the career hub, see what we got from this weekend, and then get ready for Silverstone. So on the reputation front then, it has been a good weekend. We only gained 500 from qualifying because we didn't get on the front row, but the race, pretty decent there. We got 7,000 obviously because we got the podium, which is exactly what they want. So overall we gained 15,000, which takes us to 314,900 reputation. So on the credits front, the only thing that's actually taken into account is the final result in the race. So we had a good race, so we've gained a decent amount of credits there, 12,637, which takes us up to 225,678. But as for the research data then, we've not gained a lot there to be honest, but we've got so much already. We've got nearly 10,000 on the engine, 4,000 on the frame and nearly 3,000 on the electronics. To be honest, for what we need for the rest of the season, I think that's absolutely plenty. I don't think we really need to do many practice programs now. It's just more about getting straight through to qualifying 2 and bedding myself in with the track a little bit. Speaking of upgrades, however, though, there is an upgrade available for the frame. So let's quickly go have a look at that. There is only 1 left. Well, there's actually 2, but we just got to pick which one. And honestly, I think... I'm not sure which one to go with. Maybe better reactivity would be better, but we could do with slightly better tyre wear, so we've got a little bit more to fight with at the end. However, it's not been a huge issue, honestly. So it is tough, but I think tyre wear overall probably will help me out, especially in wet conditions. So yeah, I think I am going to go for the tyre wear one. So that's going to take 10 weeks, so it'll be a long time before we see the benefit of that. Probably just around about the last couple of races of the season. But if we advance forward now to the British Grand Prix, there's no more notifications, so the next thing to do is to head into the British Grand Prix. So I'll see you at the end of practice. So then, with 10 minutes to go in the session, we've just managed to go top of the timing sheet. So that is really, really encouraging because I've been languishing a little bit further down the order throughout most of the session. As you can see on the right hand side, my lap times have improved quite drastically. Well, I just found 0.9 between lap 6 and lap 7. Ignore that 2 minute 15. I think that was an in-lap rather than anything else. You can see it was quite far off the pace. Now, unfortunately, we haven't been able to do much of the R&D at all, but it doesn't particularly matter because we've got so much research data anyway. We don't particularly need any more, but you can see I've actually managed to do 2 of them, which is nice. So I did clean lap and setup improvement, so that's a pretty decent amount of research data just on its own there. We're definitely not going to get to all of the trade because, of course, we're only doing a 25% race, so that's just not going to happen. Clean up with long lap penalty, probably could do that if I went and did it, but to be honest, I just kind of want to get out of free practice now, get into qualifying. We should go straight through into qualifying too, hopefully, because we are top of the session. And it does fill me with a lot of confidence that we have got the pace overall. I can actually do it over 1 lap, so hopefully we can qualify pretty well and we can have a pretty good race, especially considering it's our home race. I want to have a good one here. Of course, it is Sam's as well, so it could be the battle of the Brits at the front, a couple of crashes behind there. But yeah, we'll end off the session now, head into qualifying, and we should get straight through into qualifying too. So nothing really changed in the last 10 minutes of that session then. I stayed first ahead of Fabio Di Giannantonio in second and Remy Gardner in third. So Di Giannantonio seems to be finding a little bit more form in the last couple of races. I think I said in the previous episode that he hadn't really done much since he led the championship, but of course he got the win in Austria and he's got second position here. So it seems like he's upped his pace, or probably more that milestone have improved him in the most recent update, something like that. So Di Giannantonio seems to be quite strong. I think they might have nerfed Sam Lowe's a little bit because he's down in 5th once again. However, that's still pretty good. You can see he's only about a 10th away from Di Giannantonio and he was only about a quarter of a second off me, so very, very close. because that was a proper pushing lap from me, power mode 3. I had a soft tyre on the front as well, medium on the rear, so I was really, really going for it. I just had to absolutely try anything I could to try and get out of the position I was in, because I think I was down in about 16th, 17th, something like that. I was about 7/10 off at the time to begin with, so yeah, I really needed that lap, but fortunately we've managed to do that then, so this should take us into qualifying 2, so I'll see you there. So it seems like the AI's pace in this session is going to be very, very strong. You can see I've been knocked back quite a few positions. Now, the other free practice sessions were sunny conditions, well FP3 was at least, but you wouldn't have thought they'd find that much time. So it seems like the AI have really stepped up there, so we are going to be struggling quite a bit, because that time has left us down in about 14th, 15th position. So it's going to be pretty close. We're going to have to really, really go for it if we want a good starting position. So I'm not really sure which tyre compound to go with, to be honest, because I want to make sure I've got a set of mediums left for the race. On the rear, that's going to be absolutely fine, because we've got 2 sets of those left. And in fact, actually, I think on the front as well, because of course I used the soft front in free practice 1, so I could save a medium. So we have got enough tyres for the race if we do this one run. And if this isn't good enough, I'll try the same thing with the soft front, medium rear again, like I did in free practice. But I'll head out onto the track. I'll really go for this. It's going to be quite tough, because this track is very difficult to actually get a good lap in. It's never been a particularly strong track of mine, to be honest. A few corners are very, very tricky because how blind they are. Obviously, Maggots, Beckett's, that's quite a tricky section on this game because of all the changing in direction. Abbey is quite difficult in this game just because the entry is so blind, so I cut that corner quite a bit. Woodcut as well, I tend to cut that, even though you'd think you wouldn't be able to. On this game with the turnings and eyes, it's quite easy to just step over that curb on the inside. Cops as well, not a corner I'm too great at. I either brake too early and you know, go too tight on the apex, or I run in too wide. But here's Stefano Manzi. He, well, got quite in the way there, but just the pit lane exit's in a bit of an awkward position. That is obviously something you struggle with a little bit over the course of the weekend when the AI come out of the pits right onto your line there. We're 7/10 down in the first sector already, so this is not the ideal way to start a lap, that's for sure. So as we go down then towards Stowe, again another quite tricky corner to pit the braking for, especially when it's sunny like this. You can't actually see some of the references on the left hand side because of how bright it is. There's been a crash behind, so it seems like the AI are a little bit broken at Stowe corner, because I think Bezecchi fell off there behind me in practice as well. Although it's one thing with them to fall off when you're going slow, but when I was actually going around the corner at normal speed and he fell off, that's a little bit weird. But the rear is really, really crying enough already. I suppose that's what's going to happen when the temperature's slightly higher, but a good second sector because we're still only 7/10 off, although we've messed up Abbey completely, running it's way too wide there. That's also very easy to do, so it's not only easy to cut the corner, it's also super easy to get a bit of a stoppie on the way in and just sort of run wide. We've run wide through Village here as well. The lap has really, really gone away from me. Not that it was particularly strong anyway, because it was 7/10 off, but the second sector was probably on par with what Jake Dixon had actually done, because we haven't lost any time to him. 9/10 off, so actually only 2 temps lost there. So that does tell me that there's definitely time in that sector to find against AI. That's definitely the area to look for it, because the first sector they are very good, which is to be expected because there's so much change of direction, and on this game the AI can change direction so much faster than the player. It's a little bit unfair, but honestly it's not too bad because the AI do kind of need any help they can get. The milestone AI over the years have not been too good. So through the final turn then, Woodcut up towards the line. What's this time going to be? 8/10 off, so we found a little bit of time, but we are definitely going to have to do more laps because that's not going to be good enough. So coming through the final turn, I found almost a second on this lap. In fact, just over a second, but then went back below again. But unfortunately, I'm still 7/10 off because the AI improved by a second as well. So I'm going to have to keep going round. However, we are in a little bit of a better stead. And actually, through that first corner, I've just gained 3/10. So this lap is already on for a good one. Coming through the final turn, this lap has been compromised due to a lack of fuel I've had to save. So we've only improved by a couple of tenths, but we're now less than half a second behind. So I'll try and do another run if I've got time. So unfortunately, no, there actually wasn't enough time for me to do another run. I guess that's just because of how long Silverstone is. I pressed return to pit, but it just ended the session. So unfortunately, there wasn't quite enough time. However, the starting position is actually not too bad. We're 7th place on the grid, only half a second away from Sam Lowe's, so not too bad. But of course, the fact that Sam is on pole, that is going to be a bit of an issue because we're going to have to really try and make our way through to try and fight with him. A little bit like in Austria, he was a few places in front of me and I needed to catch him up. However, this time it's a little bit more dire, so we are going to have to get his elbows out on the first lap. So hopefully Ralph Fernandez will do us a solid and get in the way of Sam Lowes so we can try and catch him up. And hopefully Jake Dixon will be in the mix as well, because it is his home Grand Prix, so he'll definitely want to try and win. It's actually quite interesting how much better Jake Dixon has been over the last couple of races, because he was in the lead pack as well in the last one, so not really sure why. The AI performances seem to be quite far off in Moto2, to be honest. Of course, as of late, he has picked up his performances a little bit in real life, but yeah, not quite to podium pace, but hopefully he'll do that in real life as well. After the summer break, he'll be back on target. But without any further ado then, we'll head down to the grid. We've got to go hell for leather off this start. We've got to get straight up into the top 5, top 3 hopefully, if we can do it in the first couple of laps, but we definitely can't lose positions off the line. So we're down here on the grid then, looking at Ralph Fernandez in second position. He really could be a critical part of this race, because if he can try and hold Sam Lowes up a little bit while I try and make my way through, that would really be handy, because of course we are in a titanic battle with Sam Lowes in the championship. I think the gap is around 11 points now. I think that's what it was after the previous race, so we can't really lose any more to him. It's not too bad because the gap is not huge, but we can't be affording to lose more points to him, especially when we get into tracks where potentially the AI might be quite difficult to beat, such as Aragon. Misano, I think we should be okay, but we need to get, of course, Silverstone sorted. And in the past, Silverstone's been a pretty good track for the player, but it seems like the AI have really stepped up on this game, so it's going to take pretty much everything I've got, because, of course, even in Austria, where usually you can beat them, they were pretty fast. I really struggled in that one, but third place was a good result, so hopefully we can try and bring home something similar. But it seems like the game wants me to use the medium tyres, so I think that's the compound to go for, that's for sure. I thought about going for the hard tyre, but I just don't think it's worth it. I think the medium should last this race, because I'm guessing it'll only be 4 laps, because of course of how long Silverstone is, so we haven't got to really worry about tyre wear too much. It's just about being aggressive, and we'll need the softest tyres that we've got to try and do that. So let's get this race started then. We need to make a fantastic launch just to try and do anything to stop Sam from winning.
Riders are on the Silverstone starting grid and are ready to face one of the most demanding Grand Prix of the whole year.
So we can see Sam on pole. He is right in front of us, because we're on the front of row 3. But we can see him right in front of us, waiting for the lights to go out here then at Silverstone. Lights out and away we go. Not a terrible initial launch. We'll probably get past a little bit in the second phase, as always, but the initial launch was not too bad. So we've lost position to Bezzecchi through Cops, but on the power as early as I can get, straight back past Bezzecchi. And actually we've got a really good run compared to Schrotter, Gardner, and I think that's Arbolino. We've got a good run at the inside of Dixon. I don't know where I got Canet from, but we're up to third place. What a start it has been here at the British Grand Prix. And it looks like one of the Dynavolt bikes trying to get on my inside. He couldn't quite pull it off though. It was Arbolino. So Arbolino's doing well in this one as well. I didn't even really notice that in qualifying, but Arbolino really up there. But this is the start we needed, straight up onto the podium. Bit of a slipstream here off of Ralph Fernandez as we go towards Stowe. I was going to look around the outside of Ralph, but it's just not quite going to happen. We've ran a bit wide though, so that might allow an attack from Dixon behind, but he's not quite been able to do it. And we've got a really good run once again. Here we go at the inside of Ralph Fernandez, and we're going at the inside of Sam as well into Vale. This is going to be close. Sam hangs it around the outside, but can I get the switch back on the inside through turn 9? Yes, I can. So what a start this has been. 7th to 1st on the first lap. Back down to power mode 2 now, because he used a lot of power mode 3 to do that. Well, the run down towards Abbey. Can Sam do anything? We're going to break nice and early. We've got the position for now, so up into the lead of the British Grand Prix. I can't believe it. So qualifying, after all that, didn't really matter anyway, because we're still leading the race partway around the first lap. And the last sector really was the sector where I actually had the pace over the AI. It was the first couple of sectors where I was struggling quite a bit compared to them, especially the changes of direction. They definitely would have had some sort of advantage there, and I expect to see that at the start of the next lap as well. But Ralph Fernandez has actually got his way past Sam Lowes now as well, so that is really helpful to me to have a rear gunner of my teammate. Although I'm sure he will try to go for the win, because he's only had one so far this season, which is still a good, a good amount of wins to have. To get a win in Moto2 is good, but he'll definitely want to try and get some more boost in his way up in the championship a little bit. But Sam Lowes goes back in front of him. Fernandez back in front of Lowes again. So a titanic battle really behind between the two riders, the IO KTM and the Mart VDS. So through Cop's corner on this occasion, then we've actually managed to do it pretty well, although we've lost a bit of time to Fernandez, and we've now got a big train behind, so it's going to be all about defending for the rest of this race now. So we make it through the first sector once again, but they've got a good run compared to me. I'm going to have to go up into Palmo 3 a little bit to try and hang on to this, but here comes Sam up the inside into Stowe, but I'm going to go around the outside of Sam Lowe's. He'll have the inside, so he'll probably get back in front, but if I can get up the power as early as possible, yes I can. There's been a crash behind, not sure who's gone down, but Sam takes the lead. Can we do what we did on the previous lap, up the inside into Vale? I think we are going to pull it off. There's contact and we're down! Oh, and I think Sam could be gone with us. I think he is indeed. So me and Sam Lowe's colliding at the British Grand Prix, both trying to rejoin the circuit. I'm not sure whose fault that was. I don't know if I sort of slid into Sam or whether he turned in on me. But we've both hit the deck here, so absolute chaos in the British Grand Prix. Two Brits collide, leaving Ralph Fernandez to lead the race. Jake Dixon in second, so there's still a hope for the British fans that there could be a British winner. But myself and Sam down in 29th and 30th positions. It's pretty much race over for both of us, I would have thought, especially since I've just run wide through Village as well. The bike all out of shape on the way into there. So then we've caught up to this group in front. Sam has sort of come with us as well. He's only 6/10 behind, so if I take too long to get past some of these riders, he'll be right behind me. I don't think there's going to be any points on the table for either of us, but we've got 2 laps to see how high we can get through this pack. But of course it goes all the way down to 28th, so even if we pass this whole gaggle in front, that'll probably only put us up into about 17th, 18th position, and I think that would be tough in itself, just to pass all of those riders, even with any straight line advantage of Palmo 3. It's going to be very difficult to pass any of these riders, to be honest. Sam Lowe's, though, does the fastest lap of the race, a 2:05, so he's cracking on for a good qualifying time there. In fact, 2:05.5, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he did do in qualifying. So Sam Lowe's really a man on a charge. But here we go then, we've got a good run on Marcos Ramirez. I looked for the move there. We've had a bit of contact with him from behind. He's going very, very slow. We've got past Ramirez now. We're looking at the inside of Tom Luthi. Not going to quite get that one done. So probably just wait till the straight to try and get past him and Bolter. So we picked up a track limits warning by going a bit too tight there. Here we go though, round the outside of Tom Luthi. We've gone flying past Tom Luthi. Back down to Palmo 2 because we've only got plus 0.4 of a lap left. Here we go to the left hand side of Barry Boltus, and then we've got Belega in front and then Montella ahead of him, and then I think it's Hector Garzo right in front of them. Bit of contact though with Barry Boltus. So Barry Boltus very aggressive there. So Bolter's actually fighting his way back up into 26th position, so that's what I mean. It's very difficult to actually pass at this circuit, as we actually found last season here as well, getting stuck behind a big pack. But here we go, at the inside then of Bolter's. Hopefully he'll sort of just give up the corner and let us have it. Yes, he does, although he really didn't want to, you could tell. So up into 26 now then, there's Belega and Montella. Oh, try not to cut that corner. We've cut Abbey a little bit, so we've got another track limits warning now, so 2 track limits warnings on this lap already, so not been the cleanest. And we break for Village. We're closing up to the back of Montella, round the outside of Belega now. Not going to quite get that one done, and Boltus goes back up the inside of Sam, on the inside of Boltus as well. Actually not Sam, sorry, it was Luthi. I just saw the blue and thought it was the Estrella Galizia on the Mark VDS, because the Mark VDS is having a bit of a problem with delivery. But he's actually caught me up here, and here he comes. Sam Lowe's comes flying past. So we've lost another position. I'm going to try and go around the outside through the penultimate turn, through Brooklands, and here we go on the inside of Tom Luthi. So this is getting very, very tasty on the last couple of laps here of the British Grand Prix. Sam Lowe's back on the inside again. There's been a crash. One of the, I think that might have been the, well, it was actually an MV Agusta. I thought it was one of the Dynavolt bikes to begin with, but obviously, of course, they wouldn't have dropped that far down the order. But it was Simone Corsi, I think, that hit the deck. But we've lost a couple more positions, of course, after the contact with Sam Lowe's there. Although he's probably not best pleased because I was making a pass on him when we crashed. Still not really sure whose fault it was, but he's obviously going to be pretty annoyed about that. You'd be annoyed if you'd had contact with someone on the inside and you'd both gone down. Another track limits warning. So the last couple of laps have been a bit messy, but honestly I think it's just about bringing it home now. I don't think I'm going to be able to pass any of these riders really at this point. So yeah, I think I'll just try and bring home this 29th. I've done a huge stoppie up the inside we go. That was crazy. And we actually somehow pulled that off and got past Ramirez. So we're back behind Sumkiat Chantra again. You can see, I think that is Sam a couple of places up, trying to barge his way through. But there we go, back past Chantra. So it's Barry Boltus once again in front of us. Then it's Luthi. Actually, I don't know where Sam is. Or another track limits warning. So we're pretty close to a long lap penalty now, which wouldn't be ideal because well, actually it wouldn't particularly matter, but we don't really want to pick up any long lap penalties in this series. So yeah, I can see Sammy's around the outside of Jari Montella, so really he's about where he was on this point in the last lap. It's just he nerfed me wide and I've dropped back and had to fight my way through again. So Montella around the outside of Boltus. Boltus seems to have got it, so Boltus up into 25th. Quite a good little battle here with the AI in front of us. But unfortunately, we're not in the position we wanted to be in. We managed to get up into the lead at the start of the race like I planned, but unfortunately, it all kind of went downhill there. It was always going to be a tough race to try and win because the AI clearly had more pace, and there's been a crash. I'm not sure who that was, actually. It was Albert Arenas, I believe, and I've got a long lap penalty there at the final turn of the race. But nothing's going to happen. There's not enough time for me to serve it, so I think we're going to probably end up in last position because of the 3-second penalty, but a disappointing day indeed with a crash with Sam Lowes. So in the end then, it was actually an IO KTM 1-2, so even though I wasn't there to actually pick up any points, Fernandez got the win and Gardner was second, so a full house there for Red Bull KTM IO. Unfortunately, Jake Dixon dropped to 5th position in the race in the end, so he didn't manage to fight for the victory. He didn't even get on the podium, unfortunately. I'm not sure where Sam Lowes actually ended up, but if we have a look, 21st place then for Sam Lowes, myself down in 29th position, of course, because of the long lap penalty on the final lap. So definitely a race to forget for myself, but fortunately we haven't lost any ground to Sam in the championship, because of course we both fell off in the incident. But Remy Gardner, he'll probably be the big benefactor of that, because he's just gained 20 points back on us. Speaking of the championship then, yeah, the gap is still of course 11 points because neither myself or Sam Lowes scored in that one. Remy Gardner then still in 3rd place, but 47 points behind Sam, so pretty far behind, but not completely out of it yet. He could still play a part in this championship, especially if myself and Sam have some more collisions like that. As we get towards the end of the championship, we're going to have to be a bit more aggressive with each other. I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest. I think it was very, very minor contact whilst I still had a bit of brake on. I think that might have just been enough to unsettle me and cause me to crash. But Fabio Di Gianantonio then moves up to 5th in the championship after a pretty good weekend ahead of Bo Benschneider. Augusto Fernandez actually moves down a couple positions because he had a really poor race. He ended up in 15th place. So for Mark VDS, only 1 point compared to the 45. Yeah, there's going to be a pretty big swing in the Teams Championship, which we will look at now. So you can see in the Teams Championship, we now have a 99-point lead. So that's quite a big swing, purely because, really, my two teammates really helped me out there. So fair play to the two of them for getting that 1-2. But IO KTM have been very consistent over the course of this season. Remy Gardner especially has been backing me up with good results. And Augusto Fernandez has just not quite been there for Sam Lowes. So unfortunately for them, they're now almost 100 points behind, but it's not all over because you can pull a 45 points a weekend, as seen here. We pulled 44 in this weekend because, of course, Sam didn't score and Augusto only got 1. So, yeah, there can be some big changes, and 45 is about half of 99 anyway. I know it's not, it's half of 90, but it's almost half of that gap could be taken out in one race. So things are still wide open in this Teams Championship. But that pretty much wraps up this race, so it'll be time to head back to the career hub. It's not going to be too great, to be honest, because, well, we didn't get the results in either qualifying or the race, didn't get much R&D, so, yeah, I think the reputation is going to take a hit, and probably not going to get paid much on the credits front either. So not really a great weekend at all, but fortunately we didn't lose any ground in the championship, so that's got to be the only positive to take. So then, unfortunately, it has been a poor weekend on the reputation front. We've lost 16,625 overall, which takes us down to 298,275, so back behind that 300,000 threshold. And as for the credits, we gained 100 there, basically for actually finishing the race, so yeah, it's almost not even worth noting, but we're up to 201,378 now. And on the research data, it's actually not been too bad there because we gained access to Q2, setup improvement. We got Tour of the Trade somehow, which I thought was 100 kilometers. So I'm not sure exactly how we managed to pull that one off, but I'll take it. We got Tour of the Trade somehow, and we got clean lap. So actually, for the R&D, it's actually not too bad. We only failed 2 of the programs, so you know I'll absolutely take that. That was pretty good. But in terms of actually results, not ideal, and we took a big hit there on the reputation. But with no notifications then, that brings this episode to a close. So I hope you guys did enjoy that one. Apologies once again, really, for just not uploading that consistently. I've just been so busy with university work and even other videos. Obviously, you've seen the co-op career with myself and Dylan. I can find the time to record that once a week, and then obviously I edit that. So that's one video that should be out every week at least, but I'll also try and bring out at least one MotoGP video to go alongside that, because I know, of course, a lot of you aren't that interested in Formula 1. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more consistent on the uploads, but I hope you do understand why. It's not just a choice to stop uploading, it's just time constraints, really. I just don't have the time. Hopefully in a few weeks, I should get a few weeks off, so I should be able to upload a little bit more frequently then. But again, at the same time, I'm going to try and relax and enjoy my time, so it won't be back to daily or anything like that. So I hope you can understand that. But yeah, back to the episode anyway. It was not too bad overall, because of course a really good result at Austria. We struggled a lot in qualifying there, and of course we managed to bring home third place, beat Sam Lowes. That's a good result in my book. Top IO bike. So yeah, that was a good weekend overall. Silverstone as well. I mean, we qualified 7th. That's not great, but it's not terrible. It's inside the top 10. There's been times where we've qualified very, very far outside the top 10. So that wasn't too bad, actually, overall in the qualifying. And the first lap was phenomenal. We got up into the lead of the race. We've been battling Sam Lowes. And to be honest, it was a slight misjudgment on my part because I went in a little bit hot. But then Sam could easily have just stopped turning in on me. So he could have just sat the bike up because it was going to be an aggressive pass, but he's my championship rival. I'm not going to just sort of let him have it, especially when he's got the lead. He kind of just tipped it in and took us both out, really. I'm not particularly sure why I didn't just sit the bike up, but that's just AI for you, unfortunately. This championship is really spicing up now, and with the few rounds that there are left, I think there's about 6-7 rounds left in the championship. It's going to be close because, of course, there is the 4 flyaway rounds, Valencia, so that makes 5, and then Misano and Aragon. So, yeah, 7 races left in this season. That's going to be, yeah, it's going to be really, really aggressive, really, really close right to the end. So, I hope you guys do look forward to that one. But like I said, I hope you did enjoy that one. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.